Well, it's irreplaceable in terms of people putting their hands into a material and turning that into something. It really almost feels like a priceless and not replicable process, which it truly is. If I was looking back on us 200 years in the future, looking back, I'd be like, don't forget how to make things. You're gonna need that. In a fiber shed, people who grow fiber and natural dye, they often, in our current global textile system, are disaggregated, sometimes by whole countries and thousands of miles from the people who make something with what they grow. So our vision for the future to regionalize a fiber shed is to help people build relationships within a strategic geography so that you're growing the dyes and the fiber. You're also able to metabolize those materials into something useful, and then the wearer gets to wear something that's actually from a region that's been metabolized by people who might just be in the community as well. And so we're connecting the soil to skin supply chain within a strategic geography. I started Fibershed to connect my own wearing habits to the biological context where my clothes were grown. So regionalizing my whole wardrobe meant building relationships with farmers and ranchers, makers, manufacturers. And in doing that, those relationships were built and people started to engage with each other in ways that they hadn't before. And so it became evident that there was a need to create some supportive structure.
You know, it's beautiful to look at the natural dyes from this region and to see them applied to cloth that's 100% grown in California with carbon sequestration practices, what we call climate beneficial verified, that's milled in California. So it's a really key role in demonstrating what this work looks like.
I'm Leslie Adkins, and I'm the spinning shepherd at Heartfelt Fiber Farm. I raise the sheep, and I work with their wool, and I work on our carbon farm plan on the landscape and the pastures, and I make beautiful things from the wool and sell it to the community. When we started this farm, my goal was to see if I could create a farm where we would be able to make anything that can be made out of wool from a small operation, and it had to be eco-friendly and climate beneficial. And in 2013, we had the opportunity to bring the very first of the tiny, tiny, super rare Wesson sheep to California. So in addition to all of the other things going on here, we are trying to help keep the genes growing in this rare breed, which has fewer than 100 sheep of this type in all of North America. And it's a sheep that has ancient, valuable DNA from the first human migration to an island off of France, long before the Vikings. The only way I can raise sheep is to raise them in a way where I honor their lives, not just for their wool, but because I honor their lives. And they know that we raise them, they live out their lives. This guy is 10 years old. I was there when he was born 10 years ago. Because they get to live here for a long time, they develop deeper and deeper relationships with the people, as well as with each other over time. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Jojo, sheepy, sheepy, sheepies. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. This is like a medieval torture. I never let people play with it because it's really could be dangerous. This is an ancient, old invention, very manual, but it really works. It separates the fleece. I'm going to feed some in onto these deathly spikes, and then it's just the spikes go together and separate it. So now that we've picked Duque's raw, beautiful, low lanolin, fine fleece. We will feed it into our Cadillac of drum carders. And the purpose of the carder is to kind of comb and organize all of these disparate fibers into one to get ready for either spinning or felting. Wool is magic. As far as I'm concerned, wool gets more magic the more I learn about it. And it's a wonderful, sustainable fiber that can be eventually composted in the soil. And with a local presence, it's also an opportunity to provide a model and lead the way for others and educate others in how this can be done. I think it's a very primal something in our DNA in humans, creating, nurturing life, and making things with your hands from this beautiful live material. It's as satisfying as any work I've ever done in my life. I get satisfaction every day.
If we're going to regionalize our food systems, fiber systems, the idea is that our landscapes have been heavily depleted. So we have a big job to do to ensure that these landscapes that are commonly called working landscapes, landscapes that provide basic provisions for human life, that these landscapes become net sinks for carbon, meaning they can, if managed well, become places where we take more atmospheric carbon out of where it is concentrated, move it into the soil through simple management techniques. And those techniques also can allow us to produce the fiber, the natural dyes, and the food. So the lands need to be healed, restored, so they can be productive, but also in their own right, they need to be healed and restored for ecological function. Once our soils are restored, they produce all these things that come into this framework we call soil-to-soil textiles that come from restored soils, are textiles that can return to those soils because they're biodegradable.
My name is Italia Hanaway, and I'm a sustainable fashion designer. I primarily work with plant-based textiles and biodegradable regenerative textiles as well. As a designer, I feel like I need to make a difference by producing and creating clothing that has value and makes more of a global impact with the clothes, rather than it just being a design that has no meaning. This is my zero waste lounge suit, and it's made of climate beneficial wool. This one is made of hemp and organic cotton. You know, they're all biodegradable basically because they're fully compostable. The concept of the design is zero waste. So I'm eliminating the waste from these beautiful fabrics that are grown from, the soil. You want to make sure to preserve that. So I think that having that base foundation of a zero waste pattern is very important. I would go directly to the top part of the linen right here. So there wouldn't be any waste. There's a lot of people in Northern California that I've been able to partner with that have really shown me, what is climate positive and what is the meaning behind a regenerative textile. And, one of the first partners that I was able to collaborate with was Fiber Shed. And so I think that was a real strong foundation to my designs, to learn from them. So there would be the one pant leg. It's more special if you have, a fabric where where it came from, how it was treated. Working with the climate beneficial wool, for instance, is so luxurious. And so when I'm sewing it, I feel it smells good. Just everything about it is just really earthy and just like I love it. Being a designer, it's creating something from scratch, from nothing, from, you know, a piece of paper or maybe just a piece of fabric, and having that idea and going to make it into your vision.
The value of making is that it's a language in a lot of ways for creativity and for connection and for understanding. It's a way of creating beauty in the world and evolving our systems and really innovating. And I really hope that never goes away. I hope more people find, you know, the maker within themselves, because I do think it's also a very human thing to make make and be in touch with the making process of our essential needs. And I think even if there is a lot of automation and mechanization that occurs in textiles and in the systems that provide for us, you know, hopefully that's because it's improving human rights conditions for certain goods and mass production, but that there's still that element of tactility and care. And I think making has so much to offer us to build that relationship and then to create that sense of relationship to where our materials come from.